you for attending this session. Please forgive me for interrupting your ecstatic chanting. Let us move to our next part of the session, which is the teachings of Lord Caitanya. May I know who have all joined this morning?
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Kaumudiki Mataji, Dandrat Pranam, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai, Guru Maharaj ki Jai, Preeti Dasi from Charlotte. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Preeti Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Guru Maharaj. Thank you very much for joining Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji, this is Jahnavi.
Oh, Jahnavi. Hare Krishna, Jahnavi Mataji.
Hare Krishna, this is Balavrinda.
Oh, this is Balavrinda. Hare Krishna, Balavrinda. Thank you very much for joining. And I'm very happy to hear your nice voice. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Go ahead, Vinita Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Kaumudiki Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. This is Vinita Gandharvika Devidasi from Texas.
Hare Krishna, Vinita Gandharvika Mataji. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Guru Maharaj, and all the devotees. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much for joining Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. Jai Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much Mataji for your warm welcoming. This is Preeti Vilasini Devidasi from California. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Preeti Vilasini Mataji. Thank you very much for joining. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Guru Maharaj. Thank you very much, Mataji, for joining in.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandvat Pranam, so glories to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharajas and all the assembled Vaishnavas. This is Kirti Sundari Dasi.
Hare Krishna, Kirti Sundari Mataji. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Guru Maharaj and all the devotees. Thank you very much, Mataji, for joining. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandvat Pranam. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Shri Guru and Gauranga. All glories to the assembled devotees. Yashmati from Chicago.
Hare Krishna, Yashmati Mataji. You're regularly joining every day, twice a day. Thank you, Mataji, for joining. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Shri Guru Maharaj. And again, thank you, Mataji, for joining. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Hare Kaumudiki Mataji, Dandvat Pranam to you and all Vaishnavas. Srila Prabhupada, Srila Gurudev ki Jai, Vrinda.
Hare Krishna, Vrinda Gopika Mataji. And please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and all glories to Guru Maharaj. Thank you, Mataji, for joining. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji, Dandvat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. This is Flavia from Atlanta.
Hare Krishna, Flavia Mataji. Thank you very much for joining, Mataji. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Guru Maharaj. And thank you very much. And thank you very much for your services. You are doing nice services. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandvat Pranams, all goes to Shri Guru and Gauranga and Srila Prabhupada, Sagari Devidasi.
Hare Krishna, Sagari Mataji. Please accept my humble obeisances. All goes to Srila Prabhupada, all goes to Guru Maharaj. And thank you very much for joining and giving your very valuable association. Thank and enlightening us. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Welcome to Bhakti Sangha Japa Conference. So today's class will be given by Her Grace Sukha Sagari Mataji on the topic of Chaitanya, teachings of Lord Caitanya, chapter 26. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Please take over the call. Sukha Sagari Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Mataji, please unmute Mataji.
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, are you able to see my screen, the presentation?
Yes, Mataji.
Okay, thank you so much. Yeah. Hare Krishna, everybody. And before I start, I would like to thank the organizers for giving me this opportunity. Though I'm not sure I'm very qualified to give a class on TLC. And not only that, I was told about this late Sunday night, and I'm not sure I'm well prepared also. So I beg for all your mercy so that I can do some justice to, all you sincere devotees, and also learn in the process. And today we'll be discussing or learning about, the teachings of Lord Caitanya, where Lord Caitanya, he started his discussions with Ramananda Raya. And yesterday's class, Ram Girdhari Prabhuji, he had given the introduction to these talks. So these talks went on, like he mentioned, for quite a few days. And several topics were discussed, starting from the basics to the topmost and beyond. Mahabhava and so many things, even beyond prema, the higher levels, higher symptoms of the love of Godhead. Very esoteric topics were discussed. And these topics actually go till the end of this book, until chapter 32. And so today we'll be just seeing in chapter 28, there is a sequential progress of the level of bhakti or devotion in these topics. So as we go deeper until 32, until chapter 31, even more deeper concepts and very, very esoteric topics about Radha Krishna Tattva and things like that will be discussed. But today we would be just stopping at Dasya Rasa, and from the next chapter we'll continue from Sakhya Rasa. So I'll just start with the invocation prayers. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Girirajaswaminiti Namine. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैत गदाधरा श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा. हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. So before I start, I would like to express my gratitude to Her Grace Radhika Mataji, who made the slides for this, presentation within half hour. She helped me out. I don't know what I would do otherwise. So yeah, I'm very, very grateful to her. It was her encouragement, totally. Yeah, this chapter is titled Relationship with the Supreme. And we'll just do a brief recap of what happened in the previous chapter. So we know that TLC is basically conversations between Lord Caitanya and his most confidential associates. So he had imparted teachings to all of them. And this TLC is a concise study. And we could just say that is some excerpts from Chaitanya Charitamrita, like the important philosophical aspects of Chaitanya Charitamrita are presented in TLC. So this is, as also emphasized by other speakers, this is a very important tattva aspect of our philosophy, and we ought to study it with great interest. So I'm trying my best and would request for all of your help on this. So just to recap, we know that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was on his South India Yatra and he meets up with Ramananda Raya. And though Ramananda Raya, he was, in externally, he was a Grihastha and he was a Shudra. But still, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted to drive home this point that, the pure devotional service is not based on any caste. Or any social order in life. Just like how we also saw in Prabhupada Lilamrita that Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he was also against this concept of caste Goswamis, and he awarded the Brahman Diksha to everybody irrespective of their caste background. He just looked for the qualifications. And that's what Bhagavad-Gita also says, that it's guna karma vibhagasha. So it's based on your qualities, your qualifications, and your activities, the actions which you perform. So it's not necessary that if you're born in a Brahmin family that you automatically qualify to be a Brahmana or a, or a Vaishya or any of these four varnas. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he chose Ramananda Rai with this specific idea in mind to actually emphasize that caste is not any barrier to devotional service. And he very humbly requested Ramananda Raya to speak all these great truths to him, though he is the Lord himself. So the Lord also takes a very humble position, and we know that Lord Chaitanya was in the very humble mood of a devotee and was trying to exemplify how a devotee must behave and how one should act. And so he took this humble position and asked Ramananda Rai. Ramananda Rai, as we know, is one of the confidential associates of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the 3.5 confidential associates. So, and the question asked by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was, what is the ultimate goal of life? And we saw yesterday briefly that, about how Ramananda Rai starts replying to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he starts off with answering with Varnashrama Dharma, and then he goes on to quote scriptural references for this. Before I move on, I just thought I'll give a brief overview of what happens. Like I said, these verses or this chapter is extracted from Chaitanya Charitamrita, and then the verses are the verses from CC which are being referred to here. And the last chapter we saw 27, it went until the first, the first two topics, that is from verses 2 until 58, like Varnashrama Dharma was introduced. And then in this chapter, we are going to see from offering the results, like from verses 59 until 75, will be discussed in this chapter. And in fact, until 73, 74 and 75 are part of the next chapter. So these are the topics being discussed, and we will see them one by one, how Ramananda Rai presents these topics to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in turn accepts or rejects. So that's something we need to wait and watch. So moving on to the next slide. So yesterday we saw that Ramananda Rai had mentioned, according to scriptures, he said that, Swadharma Charane Vishnu Bhakti Haya, executing prescribed duties as per one's varna and ashrama, that is sufficient to actually, it's a sufficient practice to go back to Godhead. But then we saw, and he gives this two verses, the Vishnu Purana verse, which is very famous, Varnashrama Charavata, Purushena Parapuman, Vishnu Aradhyate Pantha, Nanya Tattosha Karanam. All the Vedic ritualistic sacrifices are performed for the purpose of satisfying Lord Vishnu, the Yajna Purusha. There's also another verse in Srimad Bhagavatam, which also dwells on this same theme, which is Atah Pumbi. This is from the first canto. Sorry, I didn't give the reference here. It's the first canto, second chapter. I am not able to recollect the actual verse number, but we can figure that out. Atah Pumbir Dvija Shrestha Varnashrama Vibhagasha Svanushthitasya Dharmasya Samsiddhir Haritoshanam. So we see that Nanya Tattosha Karanam. So it is referring to Toshanam, that is the satisfaction of the Lord. And here also we see it's very similar. The words are also similar. Samsiddhir Haritoshanam. So it is referring to the Lord's pleasure. So we'll see the translation of this verse to, O best among the twice born, it is therefore concluded that the highest perfection one can achieve by discharging the duties prescribed for one's own occupation according to caste divisions and orders of life is to please the personality of Godhead. So we see that this is being told in Puranas as well as in Srimad Bhagavatam itself. And also, in the Bhagavad-Gita, we have seen that Lord Krishna emphasizes that we should perform our duties as our responsibilities or our occupational duties just as a matter of duty, even if we don't want to do. He advises Arjuna. When Arjuna wants to give up everything and retire, he tells Arjuna that no, you should do your duties. So let's see the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So there are three keywords which are used in Chaitanya Charitamrita. So Mahaprabhu, he grades these questions. These answers are, these explanations which are put forward by Ramananda Rai with three phrases, basically, Iho Bahya. Bahya means external, that this is external. And then Iho Haya, that means that's all right. And then he says Eho or Eho, I'm sorry, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right. Eho Uttama, he says that's like great, that's good. So this way he would reply to Ramananda Rai with one of these phrases, So when Ramananda Rai comes up with this idea of Varnashrama, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he gives this answer, Iho Bahya. So he says it's still external. So how do we understand that, why it is external? We see that, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he rejects this Varnashrama, this, following the duties of Varnashrama and, and going back to Godhead just based on that, on grounds of Karma Mimansa. Like yesterday, Ramgirdhari Prabhu mentioned, we see that even Lord Krishna himself had actually presented this Karma Mimansa during the lifting of the Govardhan hill. There's yet another example from the Srimad Bhagavatam. When Maharaja Chitraketu, after a long, time, he was blessed with a son, and he was told that this son would be a cause of harsha and shokha, both a cause of joy and lamentation. So when Maharaj Chitraketu was told of this, he very ordinarily took this to be like, maybe his son will turn out to be disobedient or, not of, a good nature or something like that. So he didn't make much of it. He didn't realize what was in store for him, but the warning was already given. So he had this son from his wife, Kritadyuti, and he had many other wives too. So when Kritadyuti, she gave birth to this son, we know the story very well. The other, Maharaja Chitraketu, he automatically, it's as obvious, so he started giving lot of affection to the child, and so also to his wife Kritadyuti, So the other wives, they actually get spited, and the envy develops because much attention is being given to his first wife. We also see this in our dealings, right? When we see that some other devotees are getting, a lot of attention, or, for some reason are doing well, this kind of tendencies do arise, like in Kali Yuga, especially these kind of tendencies do arise. But as devotees, of course, we appreciate the qualities in other people because it's all given by Krishna, and we accept what Krishna gives everybody because we accept Krishna as the supreme authority and he has the right to do what he wants. So when we look at these things in that aspect, we realize that it's all God's doing, and so we need to appreciate whatever Krishna is giving. But then on the other hand, these feelings are natural. It is described in the Srimad Bhagavatam that the other queens, they thought that their position was worse than even the maid servants there, because the maid servants would at least do some service to the king and get some appreciation in return. But these queens were totally neglected once this boy was born, this child was born. So they felt very neglected, and this envy built up in them. And over time, what happened was, one day Kritadyuti found her son dead. And obviously, the other queens, they poisoned him and caused the death. But then when Kritadyuti saw this and started crying, the whole palace, everybody assembled there. And all the other queens also started crying. They appeared to also be taking part in this, though they were actually the reason for the death of the child. So at that time, she is, as any mother, and especially after such a long time she had a baby, as any mother would be, she was totally distraught, and she started blaming the creator, the Lord, for what he has done, and the untimely death of her son. So this is basically based on karma mimamsa. This argument, Srila Prabhupada says that generally people who believe in this philosophy of karma mimamsa, they, their philosophy revolves around the aspect that, the more you do the karma, you will get the results. So they expect, in one way, they expect that if you do something, you work hard and then you get the results for that. So they expect things to happen in that way. So even, we see Krita Dyuti on the same grounds. She is actually blaming the creator, and these are the two verses I took the translation from. I'll just read them. Alas, O providence, O creator, you are certainly inexperienced in creation, for during the lifetime of a father, you have caused the death of his son, thus acting in opposition to your creative laws. If you are determined to contradict these laws, you're certainly the enemy of living entities and never merciful. So you see, this karma mimamsa, they just stick to this law of karma. And if something goes, if they work hard, they expect that they must get the, results in proportion. And if that does not happen, then they blame the creator. So this is the, underlying fact beyond this. So they don't understand that, the Lord is supremely independent, and he would do whatever he wants to do. I mean, he is under no pressure or no compulsion to act in any which way which we think he should be acting. So he's Swarat, like the first verse of Srimad Bhagavatam says, Janmadyasya Yaton Mayadi. That verse says that he is Chatesha Abhigna Swarat. He is Swarat, he is completely independent. So this karma mimamsa, we see the glimpse of this philosophy here. And then she also adds the next verse, my Lord, you may say that there is no law that a father must die in the lifetime of his son, and that a son must be born in the lifetime of his father, since everyone lives and dies according to his own fruitive activity. However, if fruitive activity is so strong that birth and death depend upon it, there is no need of a controller or God. But then she's giving arguments to justify what she's trying to tell here. So she says that, if everything is based on karma, then what is the need of God? And then later she adds, again, if you say that a controller is needed because the material energy does not have the power to act, one may answer that if the bonds of affection you have created are disturbed by fruitive action, no one will raise children with affection. Instead, everyone will cruelly neglect his children. Since you've cut the bonds of affection that compel a parent to raise his child, you appear inexperienced and unintelligent. So this is the general mindset of somebody who is following this karma mimamsa, or this kind of a philosophy, that at one point of time, when things go against their nature, they tend to, in fact, blame the Lord and try to question what kind of authority he is. So we see from here that this is not pure in nature. This devotion to the Lord is not pure in nature, because they don't have the whole, concept of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, his nature, that he's very independent, and he has, he awards what's best for us. So they're not in cognition of this fact. So we see that the karma mimamsas, they do have this kind of ideas, which sometimes the blame may turn onto God. So we know that some people also turn atheists, because of when they go through reversals in life and things like that. So so this is, like, we can obviously see this is, a very, very very crude concept of worshiping the Lord, or doing duties as what are prescribed, like it says, doing your duties, your occupational duties. So this is, one reason why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said this is external in nature. And also there are several reasons given The other reason is, people in Kali Yuga are so fallen, and there is no actual practice of Varnashrama. We see that many people don't even believe in ashramas. Nowadays, we see that Grahastha ashrama has become a big joke in one sense. There are live-in relationships. People don't believe in the institution of marriage, and so many things we see, right? Varna Shankara, like Lord Krishna quotes in the Bhagavad-Gita, that there are, there's a lot of things happening out there which we're all aware of, which, totally defy this concept of Varnashrama. So when there is no actual Varnashrama, we see that there is no actual Varna also there. We are just doing some jobs, or, something which is coming our way, which may not actually be conducive to the realization of God. So one may try to say that, Chaturvarnyam Maya Shrishtam, this is what Lord Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita. So why is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu defying this? Because he has created it. Because this kind of varnashrama which currently exists in the Kali Yuga is actually distorted. It's a perverted reflection. So it's not at all what Krishna had devised or planned for earlier. So that's one more reason, Prabhupada says that this was rejected by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So we see that, the main crux of this is that he rejected this because Varnashrama is not currently in vogue in Kali Yuga. And it's a very difficult practice to adopt to also in Kali Yuga, because the concept of God, or, the faith is missing basically. And so it is not easy to actually follow this process. And why Ramananda Raya, he starts off with Varnashrama, is we may have all learned in the Bhakti Yoga ladder. So unless one even comes to the platform of Varnashrama, he or she is still on an animal platform. So if we are not even following some kind of authority and, doing some kind of varna according to what is prescribed, we are still on an animal platform. So that's why Ramananda Rai starts at this lowest category, the lowest platform of Varnashrama. And then we'll see how it proceeds. We move on to the next slide. So when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says Eho Bahya, he says this is external. Then Ramananda Rai, he goes on to give the next explanation. He says, okay, if this is external, he talks about Krishna Karma Arpanam. Ramananda Rai understood the purpose of Lord Chaitanya, and after stating that it is better to give Krishna the results of fruitive activities, he quoted a verse from the Bhagavad-Gita. We all know this verse. If I heard like a couple of kids there, Janavi and Balavrinda, do you want to read this verse? I know she knows it memorized. Aibol?
Mataji, can unmute?
Whom?
Okay, you're not there, Mataji.
That's okay, Mataji. Thank you. Yeah, I'll read it. Yat karoshi yadashnasi yadjuhoshi hoshi dadasiyat yat tapasyasi kaunteya tat kurushvamadarpanam. Whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever you offer or give away, and whatever austerities you perform, do that, O son of Kunti, as an offering to me. So this is the next point Ramananda Rai raises when Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu rejects Varnashrama. He says that, okay, we take it one step further and offer the results of our activities to Lord Krishna. And then we see that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he dismisses this also as Iho Bahya. And one would wonder why, right? Because yat kuroshi yadashnasi. So whatever you do, whatever you eat, you offer to Krishna. So there is some exchange, right? We are having with the Lord. So why is still Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, kind of dismissing this idea also and calling it external? And the reason, which is given is that in this Kali Yuga, people are not sure what to do as activities and what to even offer to the Lord. They don't even know what are the rules and regulations which need to be followed and what is pleasing to the Lord. So what can one offer, when we don't even know what work we are doing and what if the fruits of these work are even can be offered to the Lord. So the whole concept of offering to the Lord in this state, it collapses, because many people are without bona fide gurus who can advise them what they should be doing. And then when we act under the guidance of a guru and follow a particular varna and ashrama, at that time it becomes we become worthy enough, or the offering which we make to the Lord actually carries some meaning. But if we are going to whimsically take up something based on what we think and what we act, and without actually conforming to anything, so that kind of offering, what value will it be to actually raise you to the platform of devotional service? It doesn't really do much, right? I mean, you still will be earning, giving something to the Lord, and going on with your job, whatever you were doing, the same way, without making any advancement, right? So this was also rejected on grounds of that this is external. So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said this is still on an external level, because it does not dive into any kind of relationship with the Supreme Lord, or it does not dive into devotional service unto the Lord, because people are not aware what to offer even to the Lord, or what are his likes, what are his dislikes, what is the Lord's nature, and who the Lord is. Many people even have that question, and people are questioning if there is even a Lord. So he said that this is again not the most valuable method. So then we'll move on to the next slide. Ramananda Raya, then he says, Swadharma Tyaga, renouncing one's occupational duties. Ramananda Raya also quoted Lord Krishna's similar statement in the Bhagavad-Gita, 1866, again a very famous verse. Sarva dharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja aham tvam sarva papebhyo mochayishyami ma shuchaha. Give up all kinds of religiousness and surrender unto me, unto Krishna, that is, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Krishna shall protect you from all sinful activities, and you will have nothing to be aggrieved over. So Ramananda Rai, he takes it a step further, and he talks about renunciation. I'm sure we all can derive some similarities, right, between this discussion and also Bhagavad-Gita chapters, like the way the concepts progress, or the level of devotion, or which is presented in these topics progresses. We can see that there is some parallel between how Bhagavad-Gita chapters are, and also this discussion between Ramananda Raya and Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's. So here we talk of renunciation. So what do you think? Do you think Chaitanya, so when one is totally renounced, he gives up his occupational duties, do you think Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepted this, or he still had questions on this? Anybody wants to take a chance?
He didn't accept, Mataji.
Sorry, Mata?
He didn't accept. He said, yeah, Bhaja. And he continued. I think that went on.
Yeah, you're right, Mataji. Yeah, so he continued. Let's see what happens. So he again said, "Iho bahya." Mataji, she has a good accent. I don't know what I'm saying, but she said it the right way, how it must be said. Renouncing one's occupational duties. After having his suggestions rejected twice, Ramananda proposed that one should forsake his occupational activities altogether, and by such detachment rise to the transcendental plane. In other words, he recommended complete renunciation of worldly life. To support this proposal, he cited evidence from Srimad Bhagavatam, wherein the Lord says, "In the scriptures, I have described the ritualistic principles and the way one can become situated in devotional service by giving them up. That is the highest perfection of religion. Agnya evam gunan doshan Mayadishthana pisvakan dharmas antyajayas sarvan mam bhajeta satu sattamaha. So again, like Mataji said, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu dismisses this theory proposed by Ramananda Rai, Swadharma Tyaga. And why does he dismiss this? I hope I have a slide on it. No, I don't have a slide on it. Okay, so Ramananda Rai, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he dismisses this theory of renunciation, of one's occupational duties, because renunciation in itself by no means, is a way or path to actually progress towards Krishna, right? So renunciation in itself, you could be renounced from all your material activities and still not have any inkling or any knowledge about, what Krishna consciousness is about, or what your actual duty, what is your actual duty as a human being. You may be totally unaware of everything. So what is the use of such false renunciation when there is no active engagement? So this was the argument given by Sri this is what is presented by Srila Prabhupada in the purports. Let me try to grab that. Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm just taking some time to. I would like to read Prabhupada's purport. Yeah, I'm seeing if there is any. Yeah, I think Prabhupada has discussed it for the next verse in more detail. So let's go back to what it was. So this is basically the argument that, even though one gives up his or her prescribed duties or, occupational duties, one without the knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, or without knowing how to engage in proper devotional service, it would be an utter waste, right? It is of no use because he's not making any progress in his spiritual life. It is still on an external platform. He's just renounced everything. So this is what is the reason for why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says Eho Bahya. It is still external. And as we may have just, as I mentioned, because there is no knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So naturally, as a natural segue, the next argument offered by Ramananda Raya is Jnana Mishra Bhakti. So at this stage, we see Ramananda Raya cited more evidence from the Bhagavad-Gita, Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma na shochati na kankshati, sama sarveshu bhuteshu mad bhaktim labate param. One who is thus transcendentally situated at once realizes the Supreme Brahman. He never laments nor desires to have anything. He is equally disposed to every living entity. In that state, he attains pure devotional service to me. So unto Krishna, that is. So some knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is there, and the title is Jnana Mishra Bhakti, as it is, as we see. But then again, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he actually dismisses this too and says this as Eho Bahya. Again, he calls it external, and the reason is, we see the verse there. This is again another famous verse from the Bhagavad-Gita. Kleshodhika rastesham avyakta sakta chetasam avyakta hi gate dukkham dehavadbhira vapyate. In the Bhagavad-Gita 12.5, it is stated that those who indulge in such impersonal meditation find it very difficult to make spiritual advancement. In addition, whatever state they do attain is not complete liberation. Therefore, Lord Caitanya, he rejected it. There's a very nice purport, I think, for this one, given in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. I thought I will read that one. Yeah, this one in the purport, Srila Prabhupada says, Ramananda Rai then replied, devotional service mixed with empiric knowledge is the essence of perfection. Then the purport goes on: devotional service mixed with non Vedic speculative knowledge is certainly not pure devotional service. Therefore, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati in his Anubhashya preaches that self realization following the execution of ritualistic ceremonies is in the neutral stage between liberation and conditioned life. It is a place beyond this material world in the river Viraja, where the three modes of material nature are subdued or neutralized in the unmanifest state. However, the spiritual world is a manifestation of spiritual energy and is known as Vaikuntha Loka, the place where there is no anxiety. The material world, known as Brahmanda, is the creation of the external energy. Between the two creations is a river known as Viraja, as well as a place known as Brahmaloka. I'll just skip some parts and Brahmaloka and Viraja Nadi are also attained after difficult austerities, but in these realms there is no understanding of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and His transcendental loving service. Without such spiritual knowledge, simple detachment from material conditions is but another side of material existence. From the spiritual point of view, it is all external. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu rejected this proposal, Ramananda Rai suggested that devotional service based on philosophy and logic is a more advanced position. And that's when he quotes this Brahma Bhuta verse. But then again, this is actually rejected by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And in the purport to verse 66, Prabhupada again quotes Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati's commentary in Anubhashya and says that devotional service mixed with speculative knowledge is also external and not within the jurisdiction of pure devotional service as practiced in Vaikuntha Loka. As soon as there is some conception of materialistic thought, be it positive or negative, the service is not spiritual. It may be free from material contamination, but because there is mental speculation, the devotional service is not pure and freed from the contamination of material life. A living entity, so this is the key reply, you know, uh, because there is mental speculation, the devotional service is not pure and freed from the contamination of material life. So that's why he still calls it external, because it has still contaminated. A living entity who wants to be completely pure must be above this material conception. The negation of material existence does not necessarily mean spiritual existence. After material existence is negated, spiritual existence, namely Satchit Ananda, still may not be manifested. Until one comes to the stage of actually understanding one's eternal relationship with the Supreme Lord, he cannot enter into the spiritual life. Spiritual life means becoming detached from material life and engaging in the loving service of the Lord. So, unless we are engaged in the loving service of the Lord, we will see that until such a point of time where Ramananda Rai presents such a theory, where there is some loving devotion to the Lord, everything is going to be rejected as Iho Bahya by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. A pure devotee is completely surrendered to the lotus feet of the Lord, and only by his love does he conquer Krishna, who cannot be conquered by anyone. Krishna always stands victorious over everything. No one can conquer him. One can attain the stage of pure devotion simply by fully surrendering. So this is next corroborated by Srimad Bhagavatam 10:14:3, wherein Lord Brahma, defeated by the potency of Sri Krishna, fully surrendered to the Lord. So we'll move on to the next. Yeah, I think I already discussed. No, this one, the next slide, which is Jnana Shunya Bhakti. So earlier we saw why he had presented Jnana Mishra Bhakti, and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also rejected that based on the fact that the Jnana, speculative knowledge is still not pure. So he rejects that, and then now Ramananda Rai proposes Jnana Shunya Bhakti. Ramananda Raya gave evidence from Srimad Bhagavatam, wherein Lord Brahma tells the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this is also a very famous and Bhakti Vaibhav memorization verse per se. Jnane prayasamudapasya namanta eva jivanti sanmukharitam bhavadiya vartam sthane sita shrutigatam tanuvan manobhir ye prayaso ajita jitopi asitaiftri lokyam. Those who, even while remaining situated in their established social positions, throw away the process of speculative knowledge and with their body, words, and mind offer all respects to the descriptions of your, which is Lord Krishna's, personality and activities, dedicating their lives to these narrations, which are vibrated by you personally and by your pure devotees, certainly conquer your lordship, although you're otherwise unconquerable by anyone within the three worlds. So this is a very key shloka which is often quoted by Srila Prabhupada. Ye prayaso ajita. Ajita is the name for Krishna. Ajita, somebody who cannot be conquered. But he is conquered by a person who does what? Which is described here. Though they are established in their social positions, they throw away the speculative knowledge, and they are engaging in devotional service to the Lord. How? By offering all respects to the descriptions, like Shruti Gatam, they are reading, they are listening to the activities of the Lord, engaging in devotional service. They are dedicating their lives to the narrations, like, how all you great Vaishnavas are every day gathering for the Bhagavatam and the CC classes. So like that, the devotees of the Lord who are engaged in devotional service, they can actually conquer the Lord himself. That is what is being mentioned in this verse. So what do you think? Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepts this, or does he say still eho bahya? Anybody? Okay, I don't know if everybody's muted. So actually Chaitanya,
He still doesn't accept.
well, he goes one step and he says eho haya, like it says it's okay. Earlier he was saying it's external, but now the basic level of devotional service starts, and his reply is eho haya, the second reply. So then he says, yes, it's all right, but please go on. He says ara kahe, I don't know the Bengali. He says go on, go on with more details. That's what he says. So he is not rejecting this. He says eho haya. So after this, it's going to be eho hayas, and we are done with eho bahyas. And next, we see that Ramananda Rai, but still he wants to know more details. He's happy with what he's answered, but then he says, I would like to know more in depth. That's what Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says. So then at this point, Ramananda Rai actually introduces this Prema Bhakti, the Prema Bhakti concepts, and he presents these concepts to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So first will be Vaidhi Bhakti, and then he will be presenting Raga Nuga Bhakti. So we'll see how that goes. Devotional service in accordance with regulative principles with faith. नानोपचार कृत पूजनम आर्त बंधो प्रेमनैव भक्त हृदय सुख विद्रुतम स्यात् यावक्षु अस्ति जठरे जरठा पिपासा तावत् सुखाय भवतो ननु भक्ष्ये पेये. So as long as there is hunger and thirst, eating and drinking make one feel very happy. When the Lord is worshipped with pure love, transcendental bliss is awakened in the heart of the devotee. So this verse, and I think the next verse, sorry, I think this is a repeat of the slide. Yeah. So this is the next verse, 71 and 70 or 69. So these verses are, Ramananda Raya's compositions, and they are picked from Padyavali, if I read it right. And so this verse actually describes Vaidhi Bhakti, that is practice of devotional service, as a sadhaka who is trying to practice under the guidance of a guru and trying to follow the principles, the rules and regulations, and slowly and gradually the sadhaka goes to the state of raga bhakti, which is spontaneous devotion. So this is, sorry, I meant to take it off, but it's still there. So we'll move on to this slide. So Ramananda Raya, he next, so Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked him to, continue further. He's kind of happy, he's introduced the topic of devotional service, but then still Chaitanya Mahaprabhu he wants to listen to the esoteric, concepts and truths and pastimes of Radha and Krishna. So he is actually prodding Ramananda Rai to go on and on, into more depth with all this. So the next Ramananda Raya, he introduces Raga Marga, that is Prema Bhakti in Raga Marga, spontaneous loving service without extraneous endeavor out of intense greed. So this is again another famous verse which we see here. And Krishna Bhakti Rasa Bhavita Matihi Kriyatam Yadi Kutopi Labhyate Tatra Laulyam Api Mulyam Ekalam Janma Koti Sukriter Na Labhyate Tasyaiva. Pure devotional service in Krishna consciousness cannot be had even by pious activity in hundreds and thousands of lives. It can be attained only by paying one price, that is intense greed to obtain it. If it is available somewhere, one must purchase it without delay. This is a very, very, very famous verse. And also I have heard in some classes by Maharajas that this was the verse Srila Prabhupada took inspiration to coin, the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. So this verse, the Krishna Bhakti Rasa Bhavita Matihi, this was, the inspiration behind the naming of our organization, ISKCON. So this is what is mentioned. And this talks of, having that intense greed. There are several places, some conversations also of Srila Prabhupada, where he says that this is all, like there must be Krishna anxiety. He says that there must be that anxiety, there must be that greed that, how can I serve Krishna? And so you should keep looking for that greed, where you can find that. You should have that anxiety, he says. He actually says it as anxiety. And he says you should have that anxiety that how can I serve Krishna? Where can I, find that desire to serve Krishna? So that anxiety must always be there within a devotee. Like it says, Tatra Laulyam Api Mulyam Ekalam. We also know Narottama Das Thakur. He has written, several, the Lalasmay Prarthana, which is very famous, or greed for devotional service, greed for the love of Godhead. So this is something Srila Prabhupada says that anywhere you find it, don't hesitate, pay any price and, get that. Do not hesitate or do not balk. You just have to get it. So that's what he says. See, it can be attained only by paying one price, that is intense greed. So this Krishna consciousness, the nityam, sevaya, which we, as devotees are supposed to do for Krishna, we need to have intense greed. Unless we develop that greed, it cannot progress to this form of spontaneous devotion. So Prabhupada says that we have to develop that greed. If we want to make any progress, we have to develop this greed and get it anywhere. Wherever they sell it, we should go run and get it without any hesitation. So this also, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is very happy to hear this. And then, but again, he says, Eho Haya, he says, this is all right, but can you describe more, And then we will see next that Ramananda Raya, he gives his response, and his response is Dasya Prema. So he goes one level and he, describes the spontaneous loving service in servitude as exchanged by the master and servant. When Lord Caitanya accepted this process, Ramananda Raya described the relationship between the servitor and the master. He cited a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, spoken by Durvasa Muni, a great mystic yogi who considered himself very elevated and envied Maharaja Ambarish, who was known as the greatest devotee of the time. Yannama Shruti Matrena Puman Bhavati Nirmalaha Tasya Tirtha Pada Kimva Dasanam Avashishyate What is impossible for the servants of the Lord? By the very hearing of his holy name, one is purified. So we see that this Dasya Rasa is being glorified actually by Sri Ramananda Raya. He presents this Dasya Rasa, and there is this explanation of given by of this verse spoken by Durvasa Muni. Durvasa Muni actually is in one way giving trouble to Ambarish Maharaj, but Ambarish Maharaj, the pure devotee of the Lord, he takes a very humble position nevertheless, and Durvasa is up, like we know the story is very famous, and Durvasa is upset that how Ambarish sipped that water, and Ambarish Maharaj had consulted, and sipping of water is kind of like an in-between gray area where you don't break the fast and also you break the fast. So in that way he had tried to follow his duties. He wanted to wait until Durvasa Muni would arrive. So, but still Durvasa Muni, he was angry, and he upset with he was upset with Maharaj Ambarish, and that's when Lord Vishnu, he wields his Sudarshan Chakra, and the Sudarshan Chakra chases Durvasa Muni, and nobody is able to help him except when Lord Vishnu says that you need to beg forgiveness from Ambarish Maharaj, the pure devotee. That's all. That's the only help you can get. So that is the greatness of a duty, of a devotee of the Lord. That's what is being the pastime, the verse is quoted from this pastime. And so in this way, Ramananda Rai proposes the Dasya Prema, in a mood of servitude. He proposes this concept to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But still Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he is not fully, he's not calling it, he still says, yes, that is all right. He's not rejecting it for sure. He's accepting it, but then he is expecting more. So why is that he's expecting, more? Because in this relationship of servitude, there is some element of fear still there, like a master and a servant relationship. So there is some element of fear which is there, and it is not like total love, unabandoned, like without any fear like that. So next, what happens, as we can easily, guess, the next level is Sakhya. Actually, this is not covered in this chapter. This will be dealt in the next chapter, but we can just do a brief overview. So in this famous verse, Itham satam brahma sukhanubhutya dasyam gatanam paradaivatena maya shritanam naradarakena sakam vijrahu kritapunya punjaha. This kritapunya punjaha, this verse is very often quoted again by Srila Prabhupada. So what is the kind of piety that these gopas, these friends of Krishna have acquired, that they are spending such wonderful time with Lord Krishna, exchanging food, playing with him, carrying him. Krishna sometimes does that. So it's such a it doesn't look like the Lord and his friends are there. It's like some ordinary friends are playing. So what kind of a piety have they accrued, to actually get this kind of association with the Lord, this kind of relationship with the Lord. So I'll just read the excerpt which is there. In this way, all the cowherd boys used to play with Krishna, who is the source of the Brahman effulgence, for jnanis desiring to merge into that effulgence, who is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, for devotees who have accepted eternal servitorship, and who, for ordinary persons, is but another ordinary child. The cowherd boys, having accumulated the results of pious activities for many lives, were able to associate in this way with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. How can one explain their great fortune? So isn't this such a big fortune? Krita punya punja. So what is this kind of fortune they have accumulated? So there's a very beautiful commentary given by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. And he says that this, for the other cowherd men who are not the Nitya Siddhas, this could be like accrual of some kind of pious credits which they have. But for the cowherd, the Nitya Sakhas of Krishna, it is just their dealings with Krishna. It is not some kind of punya or something. So that thing does not apply to them. I'm sure the next speaker will go into more details regarding this. I don't want to go too much into those. So when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he listens to this, he says, Eho Uttama, because now there is some relationship, there is not that fear element, or, there is no speculative knowledge, or, the other things which we saw earlier. So now Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is very happy. He says, Eho Uttama. But then again, he asks Ramananda Rai to go on further. So we'll be seeing in the next few chapters, Vatsalya, like these are the things, the topics which will be discussed. Vatsalya, Kanta, Radha, Krishna Tattva, Radha Tattva, Prema Tattva, Vilasa Tattva, the Prema Vivarta Vilasa, which is the mood of separation, and then under the guidance of Sakhis. And then the last one, like how generally we see in any shows, quiz shows or something, there are like nice questions and then there is a rapid fire round. So similarly, the last chapter 32 will be like a rapid fire round where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asks these questions. So these are the questions he asks, and then Ramananda Rai gives these one-line answers to them. So this will be the concluding chapter 32. So this is what we are going to expect in the next few classes. And I would like to pause here, and please forgive me if I made any mistakes. Like I said, I had about 4 hours to prepare for this class, and so if I made any mistakes or anything, please forgive me, and please correct me and add and comment whatever you would like to. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Eho Uttama class. Very, very nice. Excellent, Mataji. Very easy to understand, perfectly summarized, and you brought in all the key points, and you even included Mahaprabhu's dialogues, which was so relishable. Thank you so much for keeping it so interactive as well. Very nice class. Loved it, and it was so easy to understand, and the flow is maintained. So we are able to understand these chapters nicely. Thank you so much. Excellent class. Hare Krishna. And I really liked a few things, like how you were telling that in Dasi Rasa there is some sort of an element of fear in terms of, like, are we serving properly, that kind of a fear. But in Sakhya Rasa, that is not there, and they are carrying Krishna on Krishna is carrying them on his shoulders, and they are carrying Krishna on their shoulders. And that was very nice. I really liked it. I like that comparison, because sometimes we don't think too far. We just accept, and someone says, okay, Dasya, then Sakya, then Vatsalya, then Madhurya, like that. We just learn it like that. But then we don't tend to think, oh, why not? What is lacking here? Everything is excellent, everything is perfect. But still, when we want to understand the ladder, it's not even a ladder, probably when we want to understand the differences, we don't think too much. So thank you, Mataji, for highlighting on those little points. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Preeti, for the opportunity. And I'm just, everything I copy pasted from the book. So yeah, the Acharyas.
Yeah, Mataji, that is the best way for TLC, just copy paste. But you just explained it so nicely, so nicely.
Yeah, so the Acharyas have given away all the truth so clearly. So we're eternally grateful to them.
Hare Krishna, Sukha Saivali Mataji. I worship Bhagavad Guru Maharaj. Wonderful to see you again.
Hi, Mataji. Nice to see you too.
I was just thinking how wonderfully Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has prepared this conversation. Obviously, this whole thing was put in place by the Lord for a specific purpose. And I was thinking how perfect it was, in the sense that, he could have just said, pure devotional service is the best. But the way he takes us step by step into explaining what is this is good, but it's not right. That's okay. It's almost like when you're teaching kids something, like a math problem or something, and you ask them to do something, and they do, but they don't get it right. And you say, well, yeah, that's good, but I think you need to try more. So it's almost like he's taking us as children by hand and taking us through step by step to explain to us what is the ultimate. It's so much more, not relevant, but it's so much, you can understand it much better when you've been taking step by step. And also the other thought I was having is he's also addressing, we see all of these different types of, practices or whatever you want to call them, this karma mimamsa, jnana mimamsa, or this, just karma and then giving it to Krishna, all these different stages we see now, today even we see this. And so it's like, he is addressing those too. So in other words, when you're having a debate, you always have to not only present your point, but also understand what the opposite debater is going to, say, and you kind of want to be preemptively address those, whatever he's going to say. So how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has addressed those and is just taken a step by step. So I, like I said, simply brilliant. What can you say? It's Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, of course he is. So I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your class. And maybe Krishna knows we do good under pressure because you did an excellent job. And I'm going to say one more thing. If you have time, can you sing one song for Narottama Das Thakur, please?
Sure, Mataji, like time permitting, and if the organizers are okay, and then I don't.
Yes, thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
And
Hare Krishna Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All goes to Prabhupada Guru Maharaj. Just so beautiful. Sorry, I was distracted here and there, but I still got the essence. I need to rehear it. But so wonderful, Mataji. Very grateful. But with that, I have a question also. As you're going, but this doubt I always have. One side, we always, even Prabhupada said it, we don't have to leave anything. This is Yukta Vairagya, Yukta Vairagya. But like you do everything and then you add Krishna to it. At the same time, here as it is progressing, and that's somewhat like a karma mishra bhakti, if I get the term correct. I don't know.
Something like that, right?
It's a mixture. It's a karma and bhakti mixture. That is what Yukta Vairagya to me sounds like. You're doing your whatever duty, but if you see here Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he is kind of rejecting everything except pure bhakti. So I think maybe that's the reason Prabhupada said that Chaitanya Charitamrita is for the PhD level. And what is your opinion? I want to know what you think about it, Mataji.
Yes, Mataji. If, like I said, if we are going to be whimsically doing what we are doing without the express permission of our guru, then, like you said, it would rightly fall under like karma mishra bhakti, or even just, like I said, karma arpana, like what Ramananda Rai presented. But once we take the shelter of the guru and follow his teachings, like there is, I'm just giving from practical point of view. There is one devotee here, she is a doctor, and her guru, he told her that she must practice, though she wanted to give up everything and just do full-time devotional service. But her guru said that this is your service and this is what you need to do. So if you're doing under the guidance of a guru, and your guru is okay with it, it still counts at a devotional level, Mataji. But if we are doing whimsically the same thing, then yes, like you said, we are still not on that platform. So once we take guidance of the guru and accept his instruction, even though externally, it appears material. Like, for example, even Arjuna, Lord Krishna himself told him to go and fight, right? He didn't tell him that, okay, surrender everything and just go. So he did under the direct instruction of the Lord. And so it is pure devotional. It's not a mode of passion. Generally, fighting is considered mode of passion, right? But this is not mode of passion. Arjuna is a pure devotee of the Lord, and he just followed the instructions of the Lord. So I mean, we have our gurus, who are the representative of the Lord. Of course, I mean, personally speaking, not on that platform that the Lord Himself comes and gives me that instruction, but of course, our gurus do give us their instruction and their guidance. So as long as we are obeying and following that, we, of course, we cannot be dwelling on that same platform and saying that our guru agreed, so I'm doing this. We have to make advancement. That's how I look at it, Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji, thank you. That is so beautiful. Actually, Karma Yoga, chapter Bhagavad-Gita, chapter 3. So Krishna says to Arjuna, we had a discussion. So that's a 17, 18. He says like self-realized devotees like this, and towards the 19, he said, you are not there. So you do what I am saying. If you are self-realized, you need not follow any duty. So that's what it reminded me of. And so yes, Mataji, of course, as you're saying that we, but at the same time, we also should not think that this I mean, I don't know how to put it across. Please forgive me if I say something wrong and correct me. Though we should not jump to become we should not be a pretender, renouncing everything and just trying to do bhakti if we are not there. But that is our ultimate goal, or that's the ultimate destination. Knowing this is also important, isn't it? Because many a times we may think, in general, I would say, that Yukta Vairagya is all we are supposed to do. So do you get what I'm saying, Mataji? I mean, see, knowing the standard is always important. Whether we are there or not, that is different. Only when we have the destination, only when we know what's the goal, then we will walk towards it. But if we think that we are doing what we are supposed to do, then there is nowhere to go. Then we are already perfected ourselves. That's the kind of thing we will think. Am I?
Yes, Mataji, I think we do have enough. I mean, that's why devotee association is so important, that we do have enough checkpoints, right? Every now and then, and we are aware where we stand and what kind of a pretentious nature we are putting up, right? I mean, it's no secret. I mean, if we ourselves know where we stand and what level we are at, and so yes, it's not like somebody is going to put this on us and say that you do this devotional service. That's still not spontaneous. So we need to develop that love on our own accord and rise to that platform. But of course, devotee association is key to that. And like Vaisheshika Prabhu, he gives this example many times, like the snake, it sloves off its skin. So naturally it does that. So when it naturally does that, it goes and gets a new skin and goes about its way. But you try to deskin the snake, it's going to die, right? So similarly, everybody is in different stages and are making progress at their own pace, whatever that pace is. Some are able to do this way. We have seen so many disciples of Prabhupada who have just given everything away with just meeting Srila Prabhupada once. They gave everything, the whole material life away. They gave up their education, families, everything, and surrendered to Srila Prabhupada. So there are devotees at that level. And some devotees take time to give up. So, but we should take, like Srila Prabhupada says, that famous verse, that greed must always be there. So somehow or other, we need to develop that greed to make progress in Krishna consciousness. And it's not a one-way thing that we just sit around and do what we want to and suddenly the devotional service dawns. No, it doesn't work like that. We need to make the effort. It is a reciprocative process, and it's not a one-sided thing that Krishna just keeps giving. We need to make the effort, definitely. Like you say, we cannot be just sitting complacent that let me do this and dovetail everything, like our wicked mind tries to dovetail everything we do, right? We find one way or the other to dovetail everything. So yeah, but we need to rise up and make some advancement over time, at our own comfortable pace, not to that point that you become very scared of Krishna consciousness and find it very stifling and like throttling, and you're not able to do much, not to the point of suffocation, but at least in gradual steps. That's why it's important to consult the Guru. The Guru knows exactly at what time like you're ready for something or you're not ready, like that. So that's my humble thoughts on this. But if I'm not sure if I answered your question. And
yes, Mataji, so wonderful, and the snake analogy is so beautiful, so easy to understand. So eloquently you have told that. Thank you so much, and got answer for other doubts too. So thank you, very grateful. Give your association more frequently, Mataji. Dandavat pranam, Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. It was so nice meeting you in Dallas, and your enthusiasm is contagious. You're so enthusiastic, Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji. Same here. Hare Krishna.
Preeti.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hi,
Well, you spoke on one of my favorite subjects in the CC, or in Krishna consciousness. My question is actually just for repetition, for my sake.
I can't hear you, Mataji.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I muted by accident. Yeah. My question is, I don't know. Did you hear anything I said? I don't know when I muted myself.
Mataji, I just heard my question is, and then it went blank.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I'm just asking you to repeat, actually. Which step was it where Lord Caitanya said for the first time, okay, that's okay.
Yeah, that Jnane Prayasa Udapasya Namanta Eva. That verse is the first step, Mataji. Let me bring up that slide. This one, Mataji. You see, when Ramananda Rai quotes this verse from the Srimad.
We can't see that.
Oh, sorry. I thought I had shared this. Sorry, Mataji. This verse, Mataji, are you able to see now?
Yes. Yeah.
This Jnane Prayasam Udapasya Namanta Eva. Jivanti Sanmukharitam Bhavadiya Vartam. This verse, Mataji.
Yeah, I'm trying to expand it. Okay, 1 second. I don't know why I can't expand it. Okay, it says, those who, even while remaining situated in their established positions, throw away the process of speculative knowledge, and with their body, words, and mind offer all respects to descriptions of your personality and activities.
So in CC, it starts with 66 verse, Mataji.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mataji, can you just read the translation? I think that will help.
Okay. Those who, even while remaining situated in their established social positions, throw away the process of speculative knowledge, and with their body, words, and mind offer all respects to the descriptions of your personality and activities, dedicating their lives to these narrations, which are vibrated by you personally and by your pure devotees, certainly conquer your lordship, although you are otherwise unconquerable by anyone within the 3 worlds. So this is where he starts saying Eho Hayam. Like he does not reject after this. He's like, yes, that's all right, go on.
Okay, because this is the first time that the devotee is performing activities that is completely on the platform of the soul, have nothing to do with material.
Yeah, and also in the purport, if I'm not wrong, to that verse, Srila Prabhupada quotes this NOD verse. Let me check. Yeah. 1 second, Mataji, I'm trying to pull up. Yeah, in this, if you see purport to Madhya 868, when he actually goes to the next point, the spontaneous, when he goes to the next verse of Prema Bhakti, that is Vaidhi or spontaneous, Vaidhi progressing to spontaneous, that's where in the purport, Srila Prabhupada, he actually quotes this Rupa Goswami's favorite Bhakti Rasamrita, famous Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu verse, Anyabhilashita Shunyam Jnana Karmadhyana Amritam Anukulyam. So that one where he says that is the level of pure devotional service. So that's when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that Jnane Prayase is the starting, and from there Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the devotional service actually starts from there.
Okay, so 66, that's this one where he said, okay, that's okay for the first time.
Yeah, from
and then 68 you said was
he goes to the Prema Bhakti, First in that 66, he just introduced this devotional service, but then in 68 he goes to Prema Bhakti. So then he talks about Vaidhi Bhakti, and then let me give you the references. Yeah. So the 69 is actually the Vaidhi Bhakti, and then 70 talks about the Krishna Bhakti Rasa Bhavita Matihi. That is actually the intense greed, where he talks about the Laulyam Chapi Mulyam. That one is the spontaneous, the Raga platform. So like that it progresses, Mataji. That is at 70 verse.
Yeah. Yeah, so in verse 68 you characterize that as Prema Bhakti.
Like in general, Mataji, like Vaidhi.
In a general way, okay.
Yeah, because the Prema Bhakti, it starts with the Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti, and then Vaidhi Bhakti, and then Raga Bhakti. So that's how it's being categorized.
In 66, you wouldn't have called that like Prema Bhakti or general Bhakti?
Yeah, he starts off with a general, the process of devotional service, like listening to Krishna Katha, like it says, where he says that abandon discussing. So he's rejecting philosophical, speculation, and they should just hear from self-realized devotees about your holy name, form, pastimes, and qualities. So earlier, if you see, the Jnana Mishra Bhakti was proposed, so he's dismissing that. And he's saying that speculative element must be removed, and we should only seek the guidance of our self-realized devotee and start the actual devotional process by hearing about the name, form, pastimes, qualities. And then it's also the translation reads, they should completely follow the principles of devotional service and remain free from the four regs, the illicit sex, gambling, intoxication, animal slaughter. Surrendering themselves fully with body, words, and mind, they can live in any ashram or social status. Indeed, you're conquered by such persons, although you're always unconquerable. So this is what is 67.
That's 67?
Yes, Mataji.
Okay. The step before 66, that was the Jnana Mishra Bhakti, huh?
Jnana Sunya Bhakti. He says, with first the Jnana Mishra is defined, then Jnana Shunya, that without any touch of speculative knowledge, and then he explains it. So this is not like this is a standalone. So when he says, okay, now, from Jnana Mishra, we'll move on to Jnana Shunya, and then Ramananda Rai, he actually continues it with quoting this verse, from the Jnane Prayasa Mudapasya, from Lord Brahma's prayers. He continues with this. So this is not like this verse is this and that verse, next verse is that. So this is a continuation of that Jnana Shunya Bhakti, which he's trying to explain. So 66, 67 is Jnana Shunya, he's trying to introduce the Bhakti concept. And then he describes from 68 to 70 as Prema Bhakti. He again goes into depth and he talks about Vaidhi Bhakti and then Raga Bhakti.
So Jnana Shunya is still...
Yeah, Jnana Shunya starts at 66, Mataji, and that is actually the Ramananda Rai gives this verse as reference in 67 to establish what he said in 66.
which verse was it that he said, because you still haven't come to the platform of devotional service, and it is still, even though you're free from
that is the Mishra verse, Mataji.
Jnana Mishra, right?
Yeah, in that purport he says that.
Okay.
There is still mental speculation. This is actually in that verse, Ramananda Rai answers with Jnana Shunya Bhakti, but then in the purport, the refutation for that is actually given for the previous, the Jnana Mishra is given.
Yeah, it's just interesting that he would call that still like material, if you, just because you have, if you're free from material contamination, but you haven't come to the point of devotional service, I just find it interesting that it's still considered material contamination, even though it's materially contaminated, even though it's like actually free of contamination. It's just because you haven't come to the devotional platform. You haven't come to the devotional platform, but you're not materially contaminated also,
Yeah, but then he says that because there is mental speculation. So, like these are the jnanis who are trying to derive logic. And there is also this other book, Mataji, if you see, this is actually a manuscript on this topic, which was written before even Srila Prabhupada accepted sannyas. So there are some more points given in this book, Mataji, that, at that stage, maybe it's also in the CC, but at that stage, these jnanis, they think that, once they are above this concept of this material, all this, they're above this material realm, they think that they have, become God, or, they think that that process is enough for them to be rid of all this material, miseries and all that. So they still are on that level, and then they fall back again. So then something like that is actually mentioned in the book. And so they think that that is the means, like they have found the ultimate liberation. So that's why it is still material, because they don't know the truth.
I see. What was the name of that book? I couldn't see.
In Search of the Ultimate Goal of Life, Mataji.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you so much, Mataji, for your patient repetitions of the entire class, practically. Hare Krishna.
Mataji.
Sagari Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. Very, very beautiful class, Mataji. Thank you so much. When you asked for children, I think I could not hear properly. By the time I was unmuting, you started reciting the words, Mataji. Vrunda was here only with me.
I want to say the word.
You want to say the words, Vrunda?
Yeah.
Mataji, what was that verse, Mataji?
Yat karoshi yadashnasi.
Yat karoshi yadashnasi, yat karoshi darati, tat tapasati kamsita.
Thank you. I missed you on that.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you so much for such a beautiful class, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Can I say something, Mataji?
Yeah, please, Mataji. Please add if you have.
Yeah, nothing much adding. 1 or 2 years back, I was hearing this guru who is pretty popular in India. He's from Coimbatore. He's everybody knows he's popular on YouTube and everywhere. A lot of India follow him. But he was saying,
Guru Mataji from Coimbatore, I don't know.
Sadguru Mataji.
Oh.
Yeah, Sadguru, right? Yeah, India is crazy about him. So, yeah.
Jaggi, right? He's Jaggi was there.
Yes. So I was hearing one of his videos a long time back. So that time we were like coming to Krishna consciousness, and then he was saying, I was so surprised. He said, you can use the Lord as a stepping stone. You worship him, you came to that level, and you can go above him. And even if like we did not come completely, it was so, what do you say, it was so disgusting. That was the last video I have heard of him. It was so disgusting. Even utilizing any human being itself is so disgusting. Like you use somebody, it is like, you use someone to get some achievement, any benefit, material benefit, and then and people watch them and still appreciate them, because we are so blinded by this Mayavad and this whatever it is, gyan or no gyan, I don't know, but he was saying you can step over the lordship. So I it is not that just Prabhupada is criticizing and our acharyas are saying. It is still prevalent in India. I don't know about other places. So it is not a theory, it is practical, and we must hear and know about it, Mataji. So I just wanted to add that. Sorry, Mataji, if it is out of context.
Mataji, you're right, yes, because our ego is soothing to our ego, right? When we say that we are in control and we are just using the Lord and Bhakti as a crutch to go there, where we will be in control. So it is very soothing to the ego, and so many people are followers. I am also kind of aware of many of his followers, and some people from ISKCON in our temple have gone following him. So I don't know how that happened, but it is there, like you said.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Sukha Sari Mataji, Koti Koti Dandavat Pranam, Srila Prabhupada, Srila Gurudev Ki Jai, Sri Radha Gopinath. As usual, Mataji, very nectarian class. Mataji, with all your Vaishnavas permission, can you please sing something, 2 lines from Vaishnav Songbook, whatever you want to sing?
Sure, Mataji. I think Adam Faneshwari Mataji also had requested. So if it's okay with the organizers, I can sing the Lalas Mai Prarthana, Mataji.
Yes, Mataji.
Sing, Mataji.
Yes.
Hare Krishna, Sukhsagri Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. Thank you for the beautiful class, Mataji. You explained it so nicely. And yes, you have done justice. I don't know what I'm going to do tomorrow, but the class was really, really, really awesome. Thank you, Mataji. And now, yes, as per the request of all the Vaishnavas, you can sing Hare Krishna.
I have a question. Can you address that? It's on the chat.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I didn't see. Varnashrama renunciation, Jnana Mishra, Jnana Shunya Vaidhi Shanta Dasya. Shanta, I didn't see mention of that there. I don't know if I missed it, because it directly goes to Dasya. After Vaidhi, it is Raga instead of Shanta, and then Dasya and Sakhya, like that. I didn't see a mention of Shanta in this Rama.
Where would it fit? It would fit in Jnana Shunya, or?
I would think that Shanta, is again one of the rasas, right? Though it is a neutral rasa, it would fall before Dasya. I mean, as that is generally the order which we read. But it's not mentioned in this Samvad. That's what.
Got it, got it. Thanks.
Yeah, Madhurya. Well, Madhurya, 2 types. Madhurya.
Comes later.
There is a lot more detail. Let me just, are you able to see my slide?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So if you see, there's so many details discussed before. See, Vasalya, Kanta, the love of a beloved for Krishna, Radha Prema, then Radha Rani's love, all that Mahabhav going until Mahabhav, and then Krishna Tattva, then Radha Tattva, Prema Tattva, and then Prema Vivarta Vilasa, which is in separation, mood of separation. This is the high, topmost, which is discussed. And I'm not sure what this under the guidance of the Sakhis is, but we see that this is the progress which will be followed in this Samvad. And then there is this rapid fire question answer session. This
Okay.
is the last chapter.
Yeah, we need the slides, Mataji.
Yeah, I will share with you, Preeti, if you want. I will share it.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Sagari Mataji. Thank you for such a wonderful presentation, Mataji. And the
All
class
glories
itself.
to Radhika.
Yes, Mataji, of course. But very, very clearly presented. Definitely, I missed the first 20 minutes. But able to kind of make sense. Definitely have to go back and hear it again. Mataji, so this is very similar to the order, except of course it's much more advanced than the order that Krishna gives in the 12th chapter of the Bhagavad-Gita, right?
Yeah.
First he talks about fixing the mind, but here it is way beyond that.
Yeah, I was just drawing that parallel, like how in the
okay.
beginning,
Yeah, I missed that.
Yeah, Krishna talks of karma yoga, then renunciation, then renunciation with karma, he talks of jnana, then like so many progresses. There are some similarities like that, like you rightly said.
Yes, but Krishna accepts all of them, right? I mean, even if you're doing karma, mishra bhakti, doesn't matter. He was not saying that no, not this, not this. He was not rejecting those.
Yeah, it's
we say that
is looking for the ultimate. So he's looking
ultimate, yes.
Yeah, the pure devotional. So until such time, he says he's rejecting in the sense he says this is still external, because there is a tinge of material, notions or whatever attached to it. So at that point, like how Mataji was asking the jnane prayasam udapasya namanta eva, that verse onwards, that pure devotional service is starting, and that's when he says, okay, this is all right, shall we move ahead? So until such time, because there is some element of material, contamination, he's saying it is still external like that. He rejects it in that sense, saying that it is still external. It's not on a transcendental level.
Mataji, very, very really appreciate your question answer session also. You're very, very patient with each and every one of us. Thank you so much for all your effort and your time, Mataji. And of course, definitely we know that you were quite busy. And even after that, you took this service very wonderfully. Very grateful to you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
All praise to Shishi Guru and Gauranga Srila Prabhupada. It's just the, I think, association of all exalted devotees here that I just learned from you, and I'm repeating the same things to you, and you're accepting it. So that's all there is, nothing else to it, actually. I just learned for a TLC from all of you, so I'm just parroting whatever I learned.
Yes, we had wonderful CC sessions also before, but yes, and you were one of the instructors there too. So thank you so much, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Yes, Phaneshwari Mataji, I will share slides with Preeti, and Preeti Phaneshwari Mataji also would like the slides. So if you would like to share with them also, it will help them.
Sure.
Mataji's, I think I will just sing short bhajan and then I have to go back. I'm so sorry if there are more questions. Tomorrow Kirtida Mataji, expert, will answer everything beautifully. So with your permission, I will just sing the bhajan.
Oh, no, Mataji, I'm not expert. I'm totally confused.
Like that, Mataji, your level is different, Mataji.
No, not at all.
Yes.
Very humble.
Very humble, both of you. Thank you, Sri Sagari Mataji. Very wonderful class. Very nicely you explained everything. Wonderful.
Thank you, Mataji, with your blessings. I try to do some seva. I will just share this bhajan.
Yeah, please do so.
And I'm just going to sing quickly.
Very beautiful stuff.
Just give me 1 second. Let me grab Kartal, or maybe not. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada. Nitai Gora Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gora Hari Bol. Okay, I didn't practice this at all. Gauranga bolite have,
पुलका शरीरा हरि हरि बोलिते नायने बाबे नीरा आरका बेनीता चंदे करुणा होइबे संसारा बसना मोरा काबे तुच्छ हाबे विषयाचार्य काबे शुद्ध हाबे माना काबे हम हेरबो श्री वृंदावना रूप रघुनाथ पदे होइबे आकुति काबे हम भुजबो से जुगल प्रीति रूप रघुनाथ पादे राहु मोरा आशा प्रार्थना करो ये सदा नरोत्तम दासा. So this is the Lalasmai Prarthana, hoping and praying that all of us get this intense greed, which I totally lack, even the desire. So this is by Narottam Das Thakura, and I will just quickly read the translation so we understand the mood of Narottam Das here. When will that opportune moment come to us? When there will be the shivering of the body as soon as we chant Lord Gauranga's name. While chanting Hare Krishna, when will there be tears in the eyes? When will I obtain the mercy of Lord Nityananda Chandra? When, by his mercy, will the desire for material enjoyment become very insignificant? When the mind is completely purified, being free from material anxieties and desires, then I shall be able to understand Vrindavan and the conjugal love of Radha and Krishna, and then my spiritual life will be successful. When shall I be very much eager to study the books left by the 6 Goswamis, headed by Srila Rupa Goswami and Srila Raghunath Das Goswami? By their instruction, I shall be able to properly understand the loving affairs of Radha and Krishna. My only aspiration is to attain the lotus feet of the 6 Goswamis, headed by Srila Rupa Goswami and Srila Raghunath Das Goswami. Narottam Dasa constantly prays to attain their lotus feet. So this is Lalas, my greed prayer. So I hope it helps all of us to get that greed which Srila Prabhupada is talking about.
Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare
Thank you,
Krishna.
Mataji. Hare Krishna. Koti Koti Dandavat Pranam.
Dandavat Pranam to you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Mataji, for your very enlightening class today. And we are very grateful to you. We look forward to your association again. And now, I guess nobody has any questions, so can we end the call now? By your permission, Mataji?
Sure, Mataji, it's your show. I'm just...
Okay.
Yeah.
Vansha kalpatarupyascha kripa sindhubhyaiva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavabhyo namo namaha. Ananta koti vaishnavendra ki jai. Vansha kalpatarupyascha kripa sindhubhyaiva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavabhyo namo namaha. Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita ki jai. Shri Chaitanya Shikshamrita ki jai. Shri Prabhupada ki jai. And Her Grace Sukha sagari mataji ki jai. Hare Krishna Mataji. Thank you.
Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Vrinda ki jai. Bal Vrinda ki jai.
Bal Vrinda ki. Hare Krishna. Thank you,
For joining today's session. We'll meet again tomorrow for another beautiful plan.
Hey, Preeti showed her face.
Yeah. Hare Krishna.
Nice to see
Where is
you.
Vrinda?
You can't see
I don't see Vrindavan.
We did not on our video.
Vrinda Bala Vrinda. I'm talking about Vrinda Gopika Mataji is here.
There she is. Hey, Vrinda. Gita.
Hare Krishna, closing the call. Bye bye.
Bal Vrinda ki jai.
Bal Vrinda ki.